The Batteries Included podcast is brought to you with United Chargers and their Grizzly range. The next generation of Grizzly is here. Meet the Grizzly Ultimate, the most powerful AC Level 2 charger for home use. With a maximum current of 80 amps, that's 19.2 kilowatts. Your vehicle could be charged up to twice as fast as a standard level 2 and up to 15 times faster than a level 1. And of course, it's Wi-Fi connected, so you can take control of your home charging, view stats, set a charging schedule, take part in demand response programs, and control your charger remotely. And that joins the lineup alongside the original Grizzly Classic. The Grizzly Duo, designed to charge two vehicles at the same time. The Grizzly Mini, a portable charging station. And the Grizzly Smart, a revolutionary smart EV charger. Those chargers can adjust the current from 16 amps up to 40 amps, that's 9.6 kilowatts. Plus, the Grizzly Ranger IP67 rated, built in Canada, and with the highest quality materials. You can order yours right now. Go to unitedchargers.com, that's unitedchargers.com. Welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. Keen viewers will think, that's not Dom speaking first. We thought, well, yeah, we're almost a year in, and Dom has hosted every one of these shows. So we'll mix it up from now on, and I'll handle a few, and we'll see how it goes. But Dom, you get the week off from speaking first, okay? August 2nd, 2024, episode 48 on today's show, Audi A6 e-tron. A lot to talk about with that very important car. We drive the Polestar 3, but is it any good? I really hope so. And the Tesla Cybertruck goes extreme off-road testing, and of course much more. Joining us today is the perspicacious Mr. Tom Malogany, look it up, good word, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. Dominic Yoni, long-time EV journalist and host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Dominic. My name is Martin Lee from EV News Daily, and of course Kyle Connor joins us. He was here a minute ago, he's gone. He will be back from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Outer Spec Studios, where he produces high-voltage videos for many YouTube channels. Now, let's get into... Welcome one and all. Join us in the comments. Dom will show them on screen. Let's talk a little bit about... I can't see Kyle there. There he's there somewhere. We're going to get into the Audi A6 e-tron first. US will launch with the Audi A6 e-tron, A6 e-tron Quattro, S6 e-tron Sportback variant as well. So let me give you a couple of rundowns on this, and then we'll speak to the main man who actually had a look around the car. So it's based on a platform called PPE, which is the same as the Audi Q6, Porsche Macan, if you know all that. The battery size, 100 kilowatt hours, a nice round number, 94.4 kilowatt hours usable, though EPA, TBC. AC charging, only 9.6 kilowatts, DC fast charging on the 800 volt platform, 270 kilowatt peak. You're looking to get into 80%, 10 to 80 in just over 21 minutes. It's a real beast at charging. So, how quick does it go? Well, it won't win all of the records. The rear-wheel drive version will do 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 5.2. The Quattro will do 4.3. And there is also an S6 version with 543 horsepower with launch control. So let's get into it then. So this wasn't one where you're allowed to jump in the car and take it on the road, Kyle, but welcome along to the podcast. It looks like your signal might be a little bit dodgy this week, and if so, we can always go to the other guys and get their thoughts. But if you can hear me, what did you think of your first look around this car?
Well,
not sure you can hear me. Jordan says he's running on Nissan Leaf connectivity. Fair enough. Maybe it's a slight internet outage where Kyle is. So, no, I can see you now. You're back.
Yeah, he's moving.
Yeah, so I was on my home Wi-Fi, which then dies, which it
Oh, that again.
Yeah, perfect timing, right? Absolutely perfect timing.
Oh, wow. I thought he was like in a hotel somewhere with this. He's actually at home.
He's actually at home.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, no, so
I'm sure he'll get that sorted out.
He's back.
Yeah.
He's back now. Okay. So anyway.
This happens sometimes. Sorry, guys. It just cuts
right.
on and off.
So let's talk about your first impressions then. You weren't allowed to jump in it and drive it, and I would take those comments off your face. There we go. And then let us know what you thought about your first look then, if anyone that hasn't seen your video.
Yeah, so...
Well...
Oh, no.
Is anyone good at lip reading? Because he's talking a lot up on the screen up there.
We'll let him. Okay, well, I'll pop you back on there. You are back.
Wait. There he is.
It just seems to be going on and off. I'm switching to my phone.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. Yeah, hotspot that.
So, really important car that is coming to the US, and again, it wasn't a chance for you to jump in it for an hour or two and go and drive it. You did get to speak to some people there at the event. I noticed in your video, but yeah, if you can hear me, what are your first impressions on this?
Yeah, so A6 e-tron is basically the new electric A6. A6 has always been the quintessential Audi. It needs to be way more luxurious than an A4, which is now called the A5. It needs to be certainly more nimble and a little bit less pretentious than an A8. And it is just the business level, business class sedan. It competes directly with BMW i5 and Mercedes EQE, right squarely with those cars. And to be honest, it's the one I would choose at first glance out of all of those. And I think it, styling wise, isn't going to blow anyone away, but I don't think it's going to piss anyone off. And that's the point of an A6, is just to be, kind of fly under the radar a little bit boring. There will probably be a RS version with some wider flares and worse aero coming down the line. But this is a car that really seems to be built for long distance. It has better overall charging performance than the first generation Taycan. So 270 kilowatts matches that car, but holds it even longer than Taycan. We all know how crazy that car was. And they've updated it recently with even crazier charging. But, that still was the benchmark in many areas. And so now you're going to have pretty good range, probably high 300 miles, something like that, maybe touching 400. They say class leading, but I don't think there's any way they're getting up into the Lucid Air territory of efficiency or range. But it just seems like an overall high quality product from Audi. It's, sister cars with Macan and Q6 e-tron built on PPE. Honestly, it's a car that isn't really designed to excite anyone, but when you're handed this as a company car, it's just going to be a nice, comfortable daily driver. We apparently are not getting the wagon in the US, which is a real shame. The Avant is not coming. Because then it would actually be kind of exciting from my side. The Sportback is cool. It's kind of like a Model S. It has a big hatchback in the back, where the glass lifts up as well, Polestar 2 style as well. So it's not the end of the world, but it's going to be a nice, great car for many people. And if you have to do a lot of distance, this car could be a really good option.
I read this week from somebody commentating on just generally Audi, saying that they've lost their mojo compared to the 90s when they had lots of different things, interesting things like TTs and stuff out there. Would you agree with that or not? Has this car got some Audi mojo to it?
I don't know. I don't know what Audi's mojo is anymore. I'm not sure.
That was their point. Yeah, that was their point.
Yeah. So even going to this event and talking, I had a long conversation with the CEO of Audi and spoke to their head of their lighting department and everyone around it. Just everyone seems confused. There's no clear direction. No one knows what the future looks like for Audi and how they're going to get to an all electric future. They say far off, we think all cars are going to be battery electric. They firmly believe that. But whatever happens in this gray area in the middle, well, they seem a little bit lost. So, either way, the videos there on YouTube, I mean, just from the numbers alone can tell there's not so much interest in this car. But I think it's, I actually really liked it a lot more, seeing it in person, playing around with it, feeling the quality, playing with that really snappy software, that incredible route planner that we know from Macan. It's all in there. I was pretty excited about it. Yeah,
Tom, are you excited about it?
I wouldn't say excited is.
Oh, come on, give Audi a break.
Where I come from, I think it's a nice addition to the Audi lineup. I do actually like the styling. The front end definitely gives me some like Kona EVQs, but in a good way. I like the headlights. I like that front grille, particularly in the white. I think it looked really nice. I think it's a great addition to their lineup. Is it going to be a big mover? Probably not. I don't think this is going to break any sales records for Audi. It's we don't have pricing on it yet, but I'd imagine it's probably going to be pretty expensive. This is going to be another one that Kyle wants to add to his list of buy this in 2 years for $30,000 and it's a great deal. So, that's how I feel about it. I'm not overly excited about this vehicle. I don't think it moves the needle at all.
So Tom, just to mention, the price on this car is not going to be cheap, but I think it is going to come well below Model S. We're talking mid $60,000 starting somewhere around there. And then of course going up 80, maybe 80, 90 grand for SQ6 with a fully loaded one. But, this is, Tom mentioned depreciation, that this is going to be a depreciation king. Already their electric SUVs, which SUVs are more desirable than sedans, are tanking in value. And here we have a car that's going to be generally less desirable in our market, selling for the same money. It's just going to tank. So I hope Audi has a pretty aggressive lease deal on these, because I think 80-90% of them are going to be leased. And this is a global car. It's not built specifically for our market. If you were just looking at the US, they would never have built this car. This is going to be a hugely popular car in Central Europe. Germany, every other car is an A6 Avant company car. I mean, you just see them everywhere. So this is, really a car for their localized market and even the surrounding countries that will do really well there.
Yeah. But Kyle, you've seen both. Sorry, Martin.
Go ahead.
You've seen and touched both. You get one car to drive for a year, this or an i5?
Oh, this by far.
Okay. Well, that's saying something good about it.
Yeah, I think just based off of what I know about PPE, after driving Macan, after talking to some Audi engineers, the chassis of this is going to feel way more lively, way more fun than i5, which i5 that's a comfortable straight line cruiser. What annoys me to no end on the i5 is the thermal performance. If you just drive that car even slightly hard, it overheats and falls on its face. It's terrible. I don't know how BMW signed off on that. Also, this has significantly faster charging speeds than i5. So, just overall, this is another step above the i5.
So you guys make it sound like this is not going to really excite the market at all, but you drove the Porsche Macan and you loved how that handled and how the powertrain, right? And did you drive the Q6?
People will just go and drive that. Jordan did all the Q6 stuff.
Right. But so if you just take the Porsche Macan or the Q6 and just stuff it into a sedan, shouldn't that translate still?
No.
Okay.
No one wants sedans.
Right. But just there's that. So certainly there's that.
True.
Oh, I just wanted to point out too, just to cover your face there for a second. Sorry, with this EV KX sends a little gift and says, I did a full charge curve last week on Audi SQ6, same battery, awesome. So that's great to see.
Yeah, I did a full curve on Macan as well. They're all the same. They hold 200 plus kilowatts way deep in the battery pack. It's going to be a monster charging car.
So do you see this taken away from Model S? People are maybe looking for a different Model S replacement. Is this equal to that, nicer? It doesn't have like the guts like the Plaid has, but
well, yeah. So no, I don't think so. Model S is already pretty low volume at the moment. I mean, I'm a Model S owner, so I've purchased a car in this category. And the real key attribute of Model S in the Plaid category is that insane drivetrain, and the fact that you can get 1,000 horsepower, even above, for such a little amount of money compared to the competition when they're selling cars with less than half the horsepower for more money. So the Model S is really like the modern day Hellcat. It's a dragster. It's crazy. And that's what I like about that car. It's insanely powerful. From my perspective, though, if you're shopping in this category, you've already discounted the Model S and you're looking German. You're already looking Mercedes EQE, BMW i5, perhaps even ID7, which is delayed and probably never coming to the US. And, Tom drove the ID7 with Jordan, and we've spoken about that on this show. And they were commenting on how luxurious that car was, especially for a Volkswagen. Talking to Jordan, he's like, is it as nice as the ID7? I'm like, Jordan, that's a Volkswagen. But you're right. The ID7, which I've spent a lot of time in as well, is so nice and high quality and a great ride. But clearly this is a step and many steps above the i7. So it's like Volkswagen is just turning up some of that quality dial on their cars, and Audi's getting pushed up as well with the help of that PPE platform, which is mostly a Porsche derived platform. And I think it's a great. It's going to be a great car, and this is going to be an even better car when they're 25 grand in 3 years.
That's what Tom said. What's all this on the door panel? What's all this on the driver's door? Some lighting stuff, some seat stuff. That looks interesting.
Yeah, so standard for Audi these days with all their newer cars, you have your lock and unlock, lighting settings, mirror settings, and memory seat, and then the child locks in the back. It's just condensed into one module.
That's nice.
Yeah, some people like it, some people don't. I don't know. I think for the target buyer of this car, you need some physical buttons. But overall, it's a pretty minimal cabin beyond this.
But would you say there's a level of sophistication there? Like when you sit in it, you feel like, oh, this is like a proper grown-up adult car.
Oh, yeah, it's so serious, Dom. There's nothing fun about this car, except they did try to put games in the head-up display with paddle shifters, and listening to the German engineers talk about implementing games into their head-up display was so funny. They're like, this will be fun. You will play games. And anyway, it was, it's a very serious car. It's built to a very high standard, as you can imagine. And it's probably not for many people listening to this show, although if you're a super nerd and want a long range sedan, absolutely this could work really well. But it's just going to be, like I said, a company car for most people. It's going to be their daily driver, a commuter to the office, and the occasional family trip. It's going to be hugely popular in Europe, not so much in our market.
So EQE competitor basically then?
Yeah, EQE and i5, but I don't know how you could choose either of those over this.
Interesting.
Right.
All right. Let's move on quickly then. We've got a lot to get through this week. A quick mention on the Rivian R1S. You did a 40-minute video this week with Jordan on basically a side-by-side comparison. If anybody has seen that yet, I can pop that on screen right now. So the first most important question to ask is why has Jordan put the microphone clip on his hat?
I literally asked him that the other day. I said, you look so stupid putting the microphone on the hat. And he was like, what are you talking about? It looks great.
What?
Yeah.
It's just, everyone has it here, but I mean, it's it's like he's in Star Trek and he's got some sort of communicator, like beam me up. It's like, I love it.
Those earpiece Bluetooth things have evolved from, basically the old business guys now to microphones here.
He's ready to take a call at any time. And he's a man of business. He's a man of industry, as we know, Jordan. And he's ready to leap into action at any minute. Anything that we need to know, importantly, from this video about this side-by-side comparison?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
if
I think
you're going to
you
get
should
one, just get a second generation.
You should hit play on that video just for a second, Martin.
Sure thing. And yet you said that they said that there's things that your generation, your first generation, you thought does better.
Yeah, mostly door handles.
Okay. There you go. Done that.
Let me just,
okay.
Just bring this up here for just for a second. I just wanted to share real quick.
But they do
we got
sacrifice a little bit.
I enjoyed
materials,
watching
I think,
this video.
But then they bring you some new features, so it's kind of level 9,000 stuff. Interviews with Wasim and
Kyle's
other
really
engineers,
entertaining,
a lot of
especially
great
entertaining. Like
details.
Kyle's always entertaining in his
But
videos.
it's nice to have these kind of side-by-side, hands-on, without the pressure of the timing of the event.
Jordan talking. Okay, I'll just
didn't even get to.
We got the audio on that as well, Dom. So
yeah,
that's cool. But no,
well, that was the point. So Kyle had lost his voice over the last couple of weeks, and that video, like, I don't know why he insisted on doing that one, but it's a really squeaky voice, and so if for nothing else, for entertainment purposes, go check that out.
Well, I wasn't supposed to do that video, and I was just going to film Jordan, but then like a lot of our stuff is done last minute, and I didn't really give Jordan much time to prepare for it. And I had already done Gen 1, Gen 2, so I was trying to get in make sure all the points made it in the video.
Right
on.
Okay, right. Next one. You took the Cybertruck off-roading, and once again, if anyone hasn't seen this is a lesson in how to do the first few seconds of any YouTube video to tell people exactly what to expect. That is someone taking one for the team in a big style. Oh dear, you would have been in a lot of trouble after that.
Nope, Alyssa loved it. She, she's from
That's
North
right,
Carolina. She loves off-roading, and it was all smiles.
Okay. All right. So you took it on an extreme off-road adventure, talking about the locking diff, trail assist, wade mode, and other things. For anyone that's not seen this, again, what are the highlights that you can take away from this?
Yeah, so the Cybertruck originally was really an on-road truck. That's how it was delivered. Even talking to Tesla's press department, they told me, hey, we've designed the truck originally to be an on-road vehicle with off-road capabilities coming over the air into the future. And so this was when we were first reviewing the Cybertruck, and I'm like, here's everything we want to do. And I was like, well, that's not going to stop me from going off-road. Just so you know, you should have built, finished your truck before you sold it. But anyway, that's what they told me. So since then, Cybertruck has received a huge over-the-air software update with a bunch of off-road functionality. And I've taken it, and we've done a video on it on some dirt roads and some light trails and stuff. And I've done a couple, off-roading events just in my own fun time, not filming. And we thought, okay, let's go up. And I wanted to show everyone the new wheels that I put on the car, the Martian wheels, which are beadlock capable, really high quality forged wheel. And I happened to be at a car show with Drew that morning, and Drew runs Martian wheels. I'm like, dude, why don't we just run up? Let's go shoot the video, show everyone the wheels. We've had them on for a few weeks, 1,000 miles. Let's go tell everyone about it. And, took it up the trail. And then we're like, well, let's just keep going. We've got our friends with us. Let's go have a day out on the trail. And that's what we did. And, took it up some pretty serious stuff. On camera, it never looks impressive, of course.
That looks pretty impressive. I don't know.
But, the locking physical differential update makes a huge difference. Mechanical lockers are great. And you can even see the benefits of mechanical locker versus a software virtual locker, because mine's a tri-motor. I have individual motors in the back with a single motor up front that can be locked. Even the dual motor with physical locker would be an even better solution. So, that would be even better.
So look, what's the difference then? Why do I see all these videos online of people getting stuck trying to go get their Christmas tree and, in a puddle, and yet you can do this with the Cybertruck? Is it the hardware changes, that you've got experience doing this? Is it the tires? Why can you do this with the Cybertruck and others can't go through the tiniest of water splashes?
Well, I don't think I haven't seen any cases of them not going through a small puddle or anything, but just slippery surfaces. A lot of it is just people in snow and ice with non-snow and ice tires. That was a big thing. The truck launched in November of last year. We saw the winter stories. The truck was not delivered on triple peak snow rated tires, winter rated tires. It's delivered on a summer and all season level tire, but it is not winter rated. So you do need to switch the tires when you drive on snow and ice. And so that was a big portion of the early stories. Then the stories were, on a trail. The pre-software updates, there was no cross-car torque management, which is craziest thing I've ever heard of. You launch a truck without any sort of powertrain control. There were open differentials. Most of the trucks on the road, especially at that time, were the dual motor variants. So if one wheel on a particular axle lost power, there was no way to transfer the torque over. And so, now having locking differentials makes all the difference in the world of getting up and down. So a lot of it is powertrain control. There hasn't really been any improvements to the suspension other than a software update allows a cross-linked air suspension now, which can distribute some of the forces. So if one wheel comes up, it can actually push another wheel down, and they're linked front, rear, and side by side in sort of a complicated way. I would say that's still the main limitation of the truck, though. Being an on-road truck with physically connected sway bars, there is no disconnect. There's no changing stabilization like Rivian has.
Yeah.
Oh, did you lose me?
You're getting kind of robot-y.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Tom, we don't really have truck culture over here. As you know, Tom, if we were to go do this, we'd just take a Land Rover every day of the week. But, truck culture is a big deal to get right for the US. And I think, it seems to me, Tom, like Tesla sort of wanted this to be known when they launched the Cybertruck. they wanted videos like this out there online. And yeah, I saw videos of people sliding down their driveway, or not being able to get up their driveway in ice, and not particularly bad. Maybe it's black ice and bad conditions, but not getting up their driveway. I saw someone go through like a little water splash, and something underneath just completely came off. And you know, I know there were the official videos and stuff that came out from Tesla, but even then, it kind of looked like something that, you know, a Model Y would do. I don't know what particular trail they were on, but it didn't look, you know, they were like, hey, wow, it's going up this famous whatever road or whatever trail. And I'm like, yeah, that looks like a dirt track to me, like any car would do it. Whereas this looks like the Cybertruck is properly working for its lunch. Tom, do you think that this would persuade a few more people that Tesla are finally getting there with some of the off-road chops that Elon Musk so badly wanted it to have?
Well, first off, I'd say that, you know, as Kyle pointed out, the truck is finally coming together now. It's getting updates that should have been in place at launch. And that's inexcusable. You know, I know Tesla needed to get it out to market. They promised by the end of, 2023 it was going to come out. So, that was, I think they launched it before it was ready. I mean, they definitely launched it before it was ready. If they were launching it now with all the updates it's had, the charging updates, as the things that Kyle mentioned about, a litany of things that's updates, I think it would have been better for the company. But, Tesla also in a lot of ways is bulletproof, Martin, like they can stumble, they can make mistakes, they can launch vehicles that aren't ready to be launched. And, people show videos of, like, when I got the first Model Y, it was very early on in Model Y production. Within the first month of it being launched, when I was doing my 70-mile-an-hour road test, the speaker fell off inside the car, the front speaker, and nobody cared about that, so I think that, it's unfortunate it didn't launch ready to go. It still doesn't have autopilot, but the Tesla seems to get away with that. I think that this is going to change people's minds. No, Martin, because, once, you have those videos out there initially that showed it, like somebody had to get towed. They went to get a Christmas tree and, they had to get towed. And I think I know what you're talking about someone going through a small, thing and something fell off the car. Yeah, once, it's like reading the headlines. Once the damage is done, you can't undo it. But I don't know if that hasn't changed anyone's mind. I think that had an initial deposit on a Cybertruck. I think what changed a lot of people's mind, or reason why a lot of people didn't buy them that had a deposit, was because, when it launched, it was a Foundation series and it's 102,000 or 100 and I don't know, what is it, 20,000, with the tri-motor. I think a lot of people, when they plop their money down, they're saying, oh, wow, this is going to sell for $49,000. Well, maybe if it's a little more, if it's 50,000 or 60,000, I could buy one. But I think a lot of the canceled reservations aren't because of those YouTube videos. They're because it's twice as expensive as a lot of people expected it to be.
Dominic, thought?
I'm just even reading the Sorry.
Okay, go
ahead, Dom.
No, I was just going to say, there's people in the comments just mentioning it. So the Cybertruck is, of course, very polarizing. A lot of people aren't fans, and but they think they would rather have the Rivian. And you have the Rivian, so off-road in like situations like this is like serious road. Can the Rivian even get up that?
Oh yeah. The Rivian can do that, but the Rivian's a lot smaller truck with a lot more sophisticated suspension. So just getting it down a tight trail, which in certain sections of this, we would not have been able to do this trail in certain areas if you watch the whole video without rear steer. Rear steer was the only way we were able to get down the trail. The Rivian could do it without rear steer. And I've done it in the Rivian without rear steer, and it's totally fine. The main benefit of the Cybertruck over the Rivians is not the suspension. It's not the articulation. Surely not that. It's really the powertrain of the Cybertruck. If you could put the Cybertruck powertrain, probably the dual motor with dual lockers, but even the tri-motor in the Rivian, it would be 100 times better off-road.
What is the stall torque, or what is it exactly that's better?
Yes. So, I'm comparing this to Gen 1 Rivian off-road, and Rivian has made improvements to Gen 2. But yes, stall torque, locking differential, and overall, I think a lot of people just like to see Tesla fail. And so they're like, look at this stupid thing. And, there are attributes of Cybertruck that are bad. For example, Someone mentioned, what about the Cybertruck that rolled over when they were sliding around on a dry lake bed or something? Well, that was really dumb because Tesla, this is a Tesla problem. They wouldn't let you lower the suspension when you put it in Baja mode until a recent software update. So you had this really high center of mass and you'd get these body oscillations. And you'll even see, we took our truck to a similar situation. We were getting it up on 3 wheels and we're like, you got to drop this suspension down when you're in Baja mode. And so they did. And so now it's getting better. Look, at the end of the day, I don't care if people like or dislike the Cybertruck. We're just sharing our experiences with it. And on this trail, the powertrain was amazing. The suspension was good enough to get us down the trail. There was some slight damage that we did to the truck. It's going in to get fixed. We slid off a rock and punctured just the plastic on the side. It wasn't anything major. Most off-road vehicles, like even on my Rivian, I've upgraded them with rock sliders. That would have prevented some of the damage here. But it was really fun. A lot of people think it's ugly. That's fine. I personally don't buy cars based on design. I buy them on capabilities. And for sure, this is the electric pickup truck with the best powertrain currently on sale. It's a really good powertrain.
Wow. Interesting. We do have some Cybertruck love in the comments as well as hate. So there's both sides are represented at least.
Yeah, driving the Cybertruck's cool. In general, I would say most people are pretty excited about it. Kids love it, especially, which is interesting. It's got great sound system, great steering, great on-road handling now that you can run Baja mode lowered, like I mentioned. Most of the Cybertruck really annoyed me when we first got it. And with every update, I can really start to feel them dial this thing in. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's great, and it's good that they're getting there, with it. I think that was a really impressive video, and should they wait until something is perfectly polished and then release it, or do they get something out in a, Silicon Valley style of software? Because software is not a car, but a car is software defined in many cases these days. I mean, that's an argument that we won't have right now, but something that is very much always finished before it hits the road. At least that's the theory anyway, and that's a Porsche Taycan Turbo GT Weissach package. And again, Carl, you took one for the team because you went on some high-speed runs on the Autobahn for this, which just looked like a blast. Like literally, it was a blast. But a lot of charging and a lot of very fast driving. Was this the first time that you've been inside that car with the big aero spoiler on the back and the crazy seats? And it was just looked really like an insane experience.
Yep, exactly. So Jordan went to the first drive on this car actually and drove it on track in Spain, which was really cool. And this is really the Taycan Turbo GT Weissach especially is competing in the not Model S world, in the Lucid Sapphire world and sort of baby Rimac Nevera world. It's really, another huge step above what a Model S offers. And don't get me wrong, I like the Model S. I own a Model S. It's a great car, but it's just great in a straight line. This has the chassis, the braking performance, the crazy suspension to back up some of those straight line power figures. And, here in this case, it does almost 200 miles an hour in an electric car, which I was able to do for quite a long time before overheating the car. Of course, we overheat the cars. That's one of the things in Germany is you can push until the car can't take it anymore. But it took a full charge, any charging session, back to driving before it overheated. So I'm not going to say class leading thermal management. I actually think maybe even the Lucid would do better. And certainly the Lucid can do it with a single gear instead of a 2-gear transmission in this one. But still an impressive electric car. I think it might be a bit ahead of its time because I don't think there is a big market for enthusiast EVs in this price category yet. If you're going to drop $250,000 on a car, you're talking to mostly people who would probably buy a GT3 instead of a Taycan Turbo GT. And a lot of people who are shopping for a $250,000 car just have room for one in the garage. Of course, many people will have this along with a GT2 and a Turbo S and everything else. So, there will be some buyer base for this car, but I don't think there's that big, deep enthusiasm for high performance, high cost electric at the moment. I think the Model 3 performance area, Ioniq 5N might even be pushing it on price a little bit. In that realm, there's a lot of people that want a performance EV. This is clearly a step above a lot of what those cars can do, but I'm not sure it's going to sell that well, and they're not planning on building very many.
No, fair enough.
How is a GT3 to daily? Is that out of the question, or?
Oh, probably like the best thing ever. You get to wake up to a 9,000 RPM flat six screaming behind you. That sounds like the best way to head to the office, Dominic.
But what if you're like stuck in like downtown traffic, and is it like a real pain? Because this would be just fine, right? You could.
Totally, but this doesn't give you the thrills of a GT3. This is very capable, very fast, very impressive technically, but it's not fun. Like, you got a GT3, you're rowing gears. This is way faster than a GT3 in a straight line, at least. GT3s are actually not that fast in a straight line. Okay. That's about the aero package, the handling, really a totally different kind of car here. But yes, in traffic and in low speed driving, basically my whole first day with the car, I was like, why would you buy this over a normal Taycan? Because unless you're going to drive really fast, there's no benefit. And in fact, then you're just in uncomfortable seats. The US does not get the bucket seats in Turbo GT though.
Right. Okay. Before we move on, Tom, Dom, any thoughts on extreme Taycans?
No, well, my thought is, Kyle talked about, is there a market for it? I think that, Porsche obviously is going to make a small amount of these, whether it's, when it's $250,000 vehicle, whether it's a combustion vehicle or electric vehicle, it's not a mass produced vehicle. And I think the people that shop in that realm are looking for exclusivity more than, whether it has an engine sound or gears to run through. And those are people that have 4, 5, 6 other cars, maybe 8 other cars in many instances. So I don't necessarily know if I agree with Kyle on the fact that it will sell less because it's electric. Rather, if this was the same vehicle with the same performance and it was a combustion vehicle at that price range, you're in such a rarefied club of potential buyers. And I think they just like the exclusivity of it. The vehicles actually sell better when they make less of them, and say, we're going to make 2,000 of these, 1,000 of them, whatever, and when you get up over $250,000, now you're starting to talk about collectors and things. It's not typically people that are driving this to the office. So I think it'll do. I think Porsche will sell as many of them as if the same vehicle was a combustion vehicle.
That's an interesting take. Maybe Cayenne Turbo GTs are very popular, so I think we can use that as a main comparison to say, okay, relative to the normal Cayenne lineup, how many Turbo GTs do they sell versus relative to the normal Taycan lineup, how many Turbo GTs do they sell?
Well, check back in a year or two.
Cool. Okay. Right, let's talk a little bit. Actually, there's interesting things to say about Polestar in many different ways in terms of the larger conversation around the business and the cars. So they just came with 2 cars at Polestar. Polestar 3, which is booty, and it's got the high back, and Polestar 4, which is slopey. But they're very different cars. They're based on entirely different platforms. And as a Polestar 2 owner, and therefore someone who I wouldn't say I'm a Polestar enthusiast, but I take perhaps more of an interest than someone who's not, because I want to know more about how often I'm going to get app updates, which, by the way, the latest one for iOS is pretty good now, more control over the car, and also software updates. And I like to think about whether Polestar are going to be around in 3, 5, 10 years time, however long I've got this car. They've got plenty of money behind them in terms of ultimate ownership, but it's no secret they have missed their initial targets and perhaps haven't cut through as much as they wanted to. So I take more of an interest in Polestar than most. And even then I get a little confused over what's the 3 and what's the 4. So 3 booty, 4 slopey. Polestar 3 is SPA2, scalable product architecture. Is the P product? Yep. Yeah, right. Okay. SPA2 platform. Dom, you're a platform guy. Dom, is that the EX90, which is the big Volvo? Is that built on SPA2?
That's on. I think that's on SEA.
So that's on SEA, right? So SEA is
no.
EX90 is SPA2.
Right. Okay. So that's SPA.
EX90 are sister cars.
Right. So I raised that. So the context of my question there, it's not because SPA2 is a legacy Volvo thing, and it's not that it's any better or worse. SEA platform is might be construed as well. That's the kind of the pure EV thing that's the future. So is that dooming the Polestar 3 from the beginning? No, it's not. Absolutely not. Long range all-wheel drive. I'll give you the US details, EPA and US dollar amounts. So all-wheel drive, $73,500. Add performance pack is $80,000. 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, 4.8 seconds on this, and just under 500 horsepower. Add the performance pack, you get 517 horsepower and a 4.5 second 0 to 60. So marginal differences there, actually. Not a marginal difference on the range. 315 miles EPA, but performance pack drops down to 279. So platform-wise on this lives on a 400 volts architecture, gross pack of 111 kilowatt hours. This is a real big daddy battery. And it takes a while to charge. It's around 30 minutes to get 10 to 80%. But saying that, again, I have a vested interest. I think Polestar have done exceptionally well with both vehicles, even though at times I just wish they'd maybe left a little more time between them, because it feels like we're talking about two cars that have come at once. I get a little bit confused between them sometimes. I'm not too ashamed to admit. But Kyle, actually, you began this video talking a little bit about Polestar, where it's come from. You're a Polestar 1 owner, of course. Not many people of those in the world not many people in the world can say they're a Polestar 1 owner. So why did you feel like you had to begin your video with giving a bit of context on what Polestar is, where it's come from, where it's going?
Well, as far as we're aware, it was the first time that we've ever seen 1, 2, 3, and 4 really together where we're able to film them. So, I had all of them in the same spot. We figured, hey, let's just get everyone up to this point. We didn't even talk 5, 6, 7, whatever's coming, as concept cars in the future. And, I think the Polestar 3, just on that topic, they really nailed it. For those of you who are super nerds, one thing I found interesting, which I didn't know any info on until a commenter left a comment on Polestar 3. Polestar 3 performance and non-performance pack use the same drivetrain. We knew that. The range hit is probably mostly done just to the wheels, but they also mentioned there's a different startup setting in the vehicle. Because you have to test in key up settings. So Polestar 3 non-performance starts in front wheel drive mode. And Polestar 3 performance starts in all-wheel drive mode, but you can then back it down to front wheel drive for range. So first of all, I didn't even know there was a clutch disconnect on the rear axle. There was no information online I could find. I drove it just around the city. So all of these things will come in about a month and a half from now, when I'm able to drive it in a really nice environment in Wyoming for the first drive of this car, assuming Polestar doesn't run out of money and cancel it. And so, but my impression of Polestar 3 is it's nothing like the 2 at all. Don't even use that as a basis for comparison. It's so high quality. It is a definite e-tron competitor, whether Q6 or Q8. It's kind of right in between those. It doesn't have the charging performance, Martin. I agree. Really should have had the Aptera battery in it, which is a similar capacity, but high voltage, 17 minutes, 10 to 80% on that one, on 111, 112 kilowatt hour battery, same size. So I really wish they put that Aptera battery in here, but overall the materials were top notch. The quality, the noise, everything about this car, the sound system, so great. Now it's still on early software. We only had one minor glitch where the screen kind of flickered for a moment, where I hit a button and I had to hit it one more time. But talking to not only the local Polestar dealer, but also other people who have gone on test drives, this is on test drive software, not consumer software. And that is the big holdup on deliveries. In terms of this China tariff, this car is built in China. And the thing is, it will be built in South Carolina in the not too distant future. So you're going to have China built ones and the South Carolina built ones. They probably should have just waited for the South Carolina production to launch in our market. because now we have this 100% import tariff that's been delayed 1 month. It does not go into effect yesterday, which was the original plan. It now goes into effect assuming September 1st, and we'll see if it gets delayed again. So hopefully they just put as many as they can on a boat and get them in here, because I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a bunch of them up front and then nothing. They're not going to bring any Polestars into our market until South Carolina comes online. That's my guess. And talking to the local Polestar folks, they're like, we're not getting any more 2s. Could be the end of Polestar 2 in our market. Just no more. So we don't know, but no one can give me a straight answer. It's this whole import tariff thing is causing some confusion. And yeah, certainly if someone mentioned they think the Volvo looks better, that's fine. You can buy an EX90. It's the same car underneath it. And I'll be driving that in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah, that looks like a really interesting car. I still wish they'd sell the EM90 in more markets, which is otherwise known as a Zeekr 009, I think, which is bonkers and has, you can get as a 4 or 6 or 7-seater, and that looks brilliant. But China only for now. Interesting questions actually around Polestar. So yeah, Polestar 3 they call an SUV. That's booty. Polestar 4 they call an SUV coupe. Polestar are trying to educate us on what they're calling it. That's slopey, but that's no window. That's no rear window slopey. So that's the difference. If you're trying to get your head around what's the 3 and what's the 4, the 3 they want you to think of as an SUV. The 4 is the one that's deleted the rear window, has the high def camera, and a smaller battery. I think 100 kilowatt hour battery. I think there's so much difference between these two cars, even though they're coming at the same time, and the language wrapped around them is all going to be the same about performance and dynamics and innovation. And this one they'll talk about LiDAR for the super nerds. I think it was in the comments a couple of weeks ago. I think Max or one of the Outspec team pointed out that this one has the NVIDIA and the Snapdragon hardware because it runs LiDAR. The 4 on that platform has the Snapdragon hardware and is probably going to be, in a way, kind of better and faster.
So,
and
Martin, this car does not have LiDAR.
This one doesn't.
The China Polestar 3s do not ship with LiDAR. You have to wait till South Carolina production to get that. So if you want the better driver assistance, wait for a US car. Also, I don't think it's a really good idea to compare Polestar 3 and 4 because I had them side by side next to each other, completely different classes of vehicle. Polestar 3 is way cushy. This is e-tron, Q8 e-tron competitor squarely. The Polestar 4, which is the smaller one, is really like Q4 e-tron, like not even in the same realm. That's really what I think could be a Polestar 2 replacement, the Polestar 4. It doesn't have air suspension. It's the materials are not as nice. I'm sure it's a nice car and we'll drive it very soon. But the Polestar 3, this is BMW iX, future electric Cayenne, e-tron, way nicer to drive than a Model X. Stuff like that.
So thinking our way through the numbers, as it were, of their range, it goes 2, 4, in terms of price, 2, 4, 3. So, and a big difference between the price difference between the 4 and the 3. Tom, I will get to Polestar as an entity, if you like, in a moment. But first of all, I'm going to get your thoughts on this and the kind of cars they're releasing to China, to Europe, to the US. And then, let's get on to some of the other Polestar stuff about will they even be around? Do people want to buy Polestars? What do you think, Tom?
So you may have forgotten, I've driven the 3 already. That was the Polestar 3 is what I drove up in the Arctic Circle on a frozen lake.
Yes, that was the 3.
So yeah, that was the 3. And it was an absolute blast. Man, did they have that all-wheel drive dialed in. I almost couldn't make it lose traction. We were on studded tires, but I was on a frozen lake driving 70 miles an hour around turns. And I think I got it up to about 140 on a straightaway at one point on a frozen lake. How crazy is that? It was a fantastic vehicle. I loved it. And I mentioned this in my video, the only concerning part about me is the price. This is up there. It's going to be an expensive vehicle. And, Polestar as a brand, you asked about, the viability and their longevity. Are they going to be around? They need to get an affordable vehicle out there. The 3 and the 4 are magnificent vehicles, in my opinion. The three I drove it. Wow, did it impress me? But at some point, Polestar has to go down market to sell volume. It's a very expensive brand. There's a lot of competition in this space now. So I don't know. I don't know about their long-term viability. To be honest with you, I'm concerned about Polestar lasting.
So you're saying this is close to maybe like the BMW iX, Kyle? Is that what you would cross
I
shop
actually
this with?
think the price is totally fine. I just think there's going to be a big difference for the US one on that 80,000 cap. You can get one under 80, but then the performance pack cars are going to be well over. I was speccing one out yesterday, actually. So the launch edition seems to be the one to go for. You get everything for like 85, 86 grand. It comes fully loaded, fully spec'd. When you start doing it manually away from the launch edition, you're talking mid 90s for the same car. So like you get a $10,000 discount almost for getting a first edition. And that seems to be pretty good. But overall, when you're competing in iX, e-tron pricing, it's right in line with those cars. And to me, more desirable.
And Kyle, to be clear, I'm not saying it's not worth it. I think it's worth the price it's in. We're just looking at Polestar as a brand now struggling to stay solvent, struggling to remain in business. The business plan of just continuing to launch $70,000-$80,000 vehicles is not the way they should be going, in my opinion.
Okay, well, from our perspective, what's the worst thing that happens if Polestar dies?
Oh no, you and I aren't going to get hurt by it, but we're just talking about whether they're going to be. It'd be a shame because they make fantastic vehicles. I mean, every one of them, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. I think you would agree with me with that, Kyle. They're great vehicles, but it's. Yeah, I know, but they drive great. In my opinion, I mean, I've driven the 2s a lot. Martin owns one. I've never driven the 1. You have the 1. That's a fantastic vehicle. I drove the 3, of course, limited on ice, in a very specific media drive. But, they make high quality vehicles. You just get in them. You could tell you're in a premium vehicle. They're put together really well. They have good road feel. It would be a shame to lose them, but that at some point they have to go down market to start selling volume.
But they're doing that with Polestar 2, which they're not bringing anymore in. But you can lease a Polestar 2 for $199 a month here in Colorado. That's a nice car for $200 a month.
It is. No argument here. But that was their second vehicle, and then for their third and fourth vehicle, they're going up into the 80s now.
Yeah. So they want to be a Porsche competitor. They want to be up there with Mercedes. They're not looking to be a Kia or a Hyundai competitor. And I don't know if that's the right or wrong decision. To me, the brand image is captured. When you walk into a space, the design of the cars, the materials certainly justify the price. And there are a lot of people buying expensive electric cars even now. So I don't know. I'm not a good product planner in this case at all, but I would say if they want to go cheaper, don't price the current cars cheaper. They would need to make a worse car.
Yeah, something like an EX30, Polestar's version of an EX30, or a Kia EV3, something like that, where they can sell 20,000-30,000 of them a year.
Yeah, they would need to do more, I think, than that. But yes, there should be a Polestar version of EX30, but they really need to finish dialing in EX30 before they do anything else with that car.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I like EX30 with like a Polestar interior. That might be interesting, a little bit better, just nicer feel, materials. The EX30 is kind of let down, I think, by the design of the interior is nice, but some of the materials, I don't really like so much.
Okay. Yeah, I love the interior and the materials from my side. I thought it fit the price perfectly. To me, it was just driving it was really the main problem. So yeah, that video is coming out this weekend where you can see, I'm going to use the word disaster, the EX30 disaster.
I agree.
That happened. So
yeah.
stay tuned for that one to go up.
I totally agree.
Where is it?
Well, it's here. There was an EX30 at my daughter's drop off this morning. She's 2, and I dropped her off at nursery this morning, and there was an EX30. And if I hadn't also been shouting, "Stop pulling your hair out," because I'd done really lovely bunches today, and both got pulled out. Look, Daddy. Oh, just 10 minutes I was doing that. Problems that luckily none of you gentlemen have to worry about. Then I would have said to the nice lady at nursery drop off, "Oh, hey, how you finding the Volvo?" And just waited to see what she said. But I'm sure I'll bump into her another time. It looks like a fantastic vehicle, and the material choice is great. It is a very small vehicle. It's like, best comparison I've got is Kona, first version Kona, or first and second version facelift Kona size. It's small. It is a dinky little car, but if that's what you need, I think it does your job for you if it was finished. But the last one I saw wasn't finished at all, so that's a problem. And should they even bring the EX90 to market? Well, they're going to, and then that's the answer. They've said yes, we're going to come, and it won't have things like Apple CarPlay, and the software won't be finished. And I think, again, how easy to be an armchair critic when I'm not on the balance sheet and I don't have to get money through the door and recoup all the R&D on it. But I think that is a much bigger risk, and they know what they're doing. But I think it's a huge risk going with a 30 grand product that's not done, and then getting some kickback and people rocking back at Volvo dealerships and saying, "Look, I've had, my last 3 Volvos, and this one's nothing like the experience that I've had with it," is one thing. Selling an EX90 that's not done, and they've said the software won't be finished. I think that's a huge risk. They know the risk they're taking, because if it's really bad, then I think there's some long-term Volvo brand damage done. But only they know how finished the product is. You would think that they bring the EX30 to market in a good enough way, but all the early reviews that we've seen, there's some real problems with it.
Interesting. And it's not even available here, right?
Because so EX30 was not right, but they shouldn't bring it here because it needs some fine tuning. But Martin, to your point, the EX30 was never communicated to be an unfinished product on sale, and then they delivered an unfinished product to consumers. It doesn't even tell you how fast it's charging, which is crazy. And then now we have EX90 coming, but they're telling us it's not going to be finished. So how much worse is it going to be? I mean, I'm going on the global launch for the car, so I'll meet the engineering team. You guys know we're going to be, I love Volvo. I'm a Volvo fan in general. I like a lot of their cars, but that EX30 experience really has me worried. And so I hope EX90, I hope they're taking it seriously. But Volvo has no history of proving to their customers that they can over-the-air software update major fixes. They've done little things here and there, little features, but we're talking about enabling driver assistance functionality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if we can trust them to sort the car out later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's damning.
It is interesting, the leeway to reflect back on almost an hour ago when we started talking on this podcast, and interesting the leeway that Tesla owners, Tesla fans give it. They want to be part of the mission. So many people still think of Tesla as a new company, as a startup challenging the establishment. Look, these days Tesla is the establishment in the US, and yet the amazing thing they've been able to do, and the wonderful thing for them, the time they can buy themselves, is they still have this young, scrappy upstart. Like, this is where we are with the Cybertruck, and here it is, and we'll get there with it. And I think 9 times out of 10, Tesla always do get there with it. Let's not talk about windscreen wipers, but apart from that, I think they always deliver eventually, to give them their credit. And look at Volvo. I wonder how many people at Volvo thought, well, this isn't fair. Tesla can put out something that is basically not done, and not so much get away with it, but the brand love is so much that people go, I know that they'll get there eventually. People don't think about that like Volvo fans expect to get a vehicle and it just expects to be done. It should be finished, because Volvos always have been in the past, and that is the conundrum, the challenge for any of these car makers, whether you are established or a startup. Both come with equal pressures. Look at what Rivian and Lucid and more are going through as startups. But yeah, what an incredible thing that Tesla have been able to do, which is just to buy themselves time when they put something out that's not right and not finished yet, because they do get there. Right, we should move on. And we should talk about one of those companies, Tom, that's been around a little while, and that would be Ford. And that would be a company that went very early with their promise to go to EV, and were the first ones to talk about their relationship with Tesla and the what we now call J3400 and the NACS plug, and using the superchargers. And to do that requires adapters at this stage until that J3400 is native on the side of their cars. But this adapter rollout, Tom, tell us more about it, because it continues to be bumpy.
Yeah, so I put up a video this week with Ford sent out an email to its customers that have already ordered an adapter but not received it. So there's a lot of people that are contacting Ford, contacting me. I've gotten at least 50 or 60 emails from Ford and Rivian owners saying, hey, Tom, I applied for this. Do you have any, maybe you have some insight on timeline? So I've been reaching out to the companies and saying, hey, you have to do a better job of communicating. I know they're sending people an email, like when you order your adapter from Ford through the website, they'll say your estimated delivery time is June, and then June comes and they say, oh, it's going to be August. So they've been sending out emails and pushing it back. They just sent out another one. This was just a couple of days ago. We have it up there on the screen for those watching the video. On July 31st, they sent this out that said, due to ongoing supply constraints, there's a further delay in your complimentary fast charging adapter. We know this is frustrating. Thank you for your continued patience. To expedite your adapter delivery, we're rapidly working with our supply base, i.e. Tesla, to increase high quality production. We are confident we will have a solution in the coming weeks. That's the most interesting sentence of the whole thing that they put out there to me. As adapter supply increases, our goal is to work as fast as possible to get your adapter to you. And we'll continue to update you on the estimated timing of your adapter. In the meantime, make sure your vehicle is ready, enable plug and charge and automatic updates. So, this is one of many emails that Ford sent out to people saying, hey, this is going to be delayed. And people are frustrated. I understand it. And that's what's led to a lot of people going out and ordering those third-party adapters, which, as we know, Tesla and the other manufacturers have said, we don't endorse using them. We don't want you to use them. It's interesting because Tesla is producing these adapters and they're providing them to Ford and Rivian now. Ford and Rivian are paying for them from Tesla, buying them from Tesla and giving them to their customers for free, which I think is a really good effort on their part. It's totally unnecessary in my opinion. I would not have done that if I was Ford or Rivian. I might have subsidized the cost of the adapters and said, hey, pay us $50. I wouldn't give them away free, because with free, there's always abuse. I think people that would never use them or have no need for the adapter, well, it's free, let me log on and order it. So I bet, tons of people that have already received some of the early ones just because they were quick to respond to the emails from Ford and Rivian and say, yeah, give me my free one. I think there's plenty of people that have those things sitting in the box and has never opened them up. Meanwhile, there's people that really want them that, are waiting, and those people didn't want to wait and they went out and bought third-party adapters. I've actually loaned my adapter out to a few people locally here that said, look, I'm going on a road trip, Tom. I'm waiting for mine. Would you mind, loaning it to me? And I've loaned it to them. So basically I did I put out a video this week to kind of update people on where we are, like the state of the NACS adapters, because so many people are sending me emails. I get emails from people that own EVs from other than Ford and Rivian makes. And they're like, hey, Tom, I bought that A to Z adapter based on your video, but it's not working on my, EV6. And it's like, really, you haven't been following this at all, but, people's lives are busy and they saw the update that said, hey, Kia is going to be, transitioning to the North American charging standard or whatever. And so they figure, okay, great, I'll get one of these things and I'll be able to use it. So I put out a video that kind of explained where we are now, how we got here, and why there's delays. There's delays because Tesla's the only company making them, and they simply cannot supply them fast enough to Ford and Rivian. Now, Ford and Rivian don't want to badmouth Tesla. They don't want to, and even though I've tried to get information from them, they don't even say Tesla. They say our supplier, but we know that's Tesla's the only one making them. They simply can't make them fast enough. And I think, I don't know this is a fact, but from what I've heard from some people that kind of are in the know, when they first started making them, they were sending them out at a better clip. And then the supply started slowing up to Ford and Rivian. And I don't know if it had anything to do with Tesla, with their Supercharger team when they fired the Supercharger team, or if there was a manufacturing issue or something. But I believe both Ford and Rivian didn't get as many adapters as quickly as they were promised. And that's why they have sent out these emails saying, look, I know we told you you're going to get your adapter by August or July or whatever, but now it's going to be September, October, or whatever. Mark Newman just said, Tom, did you do a V2 A to Z NACS adapter? Yeah, I have that video up, Mark. Here it is, actually. This is the second version of the A to Z adapter. It's called the A to Z Pro. Really good adapter. I have a video on that already, Mark, so you could check out State of Charge if you want to watch that. So that's where we're at. It's taken much longer than people thought they were going to take, and people are frustrated. I have so many people, and that's put that to the side now and talk about GM customers. Do you know how many Lyric and Bolt owners have reached out to me to say, hey, when is this going to happen? I keep telling people any minute now, because that's what we got. GM said they were going to have access to the Supercharger network in the spring. And even up until there was 3 days left in the spring, and they made an official, we're still saying the spring, nothing has changed. So, now we're wondering if they're going to have it in the summer, I've been in contact with GM. I keep reaching out to them, say, hey, you got to give me a heads up. This is what I do for a living. All I really focus on is charging. Let me know when this is going to come, because I want to be ready for it. I want to be able to tell my audience, hey, the adapter's out. It costs this much, or it's free. That we still don't know, because, there was for a short period of time, there was a part number for GM that you could order one for $26, but you couldn't order it for that. It was like a placeholder. So I think a lot of people assume that it's going to cost that. That's not correct. It may end up costing that, but GM will not comment on whether it's free, whether you're going to buy it. But there is a part number in the GM parts. There was for a short period of time, which has been removed. So now you can't even search and find the part number anymore. But this should be soon. GM should be soon. I keep saying it, but hopefully it's soon, and hopefully GM will communicate to me a little ahead of time, so I could prepare, and when it is open, be able to tell people, look, this is how you use it, this is how you order the adapter, and we can go from there. And after GM, it looks like Volvo is going to be next after them, then Polestar, and then Mercedes. For a while, the only thing we saw on the Tesla website was Ford and Rivian, GM, Volvo, and Polestar. But now Mercedes has clicked in onto the bottom of the list. So now it appears like that's going to be the order that we're going to see. After GM, it's going to be Volvo, Polestar, and then Mercedes get access to the Supercharger network.
Is this more damaging for Ford, or did Tesla come off bad in this, or we so too close to it and we think about these things, and ultimately the everyday kind of person doesn't care, or is it genuinely annoying people? And who's getting the blame?
So I don't know if it's damaging. I mean, of course, some people are going to be mad. They're not going to be mad at Tesla, I don't think, because, if you want a Ford, and Ford told you they're going to send you this by June, and then they send you August, and now they say September, you're mad at Ford, So I think if anyone, they have the black eye. But I would counter that by saying, hey, guys, they're giving you the damn thing for free. If you can't wait, go buy a third-party adapter if you really can't wait. As far as I'm concerned, you didn't order it, you didn't pay for it. Don't complain about it taking an extra month or two. It's out of Ford and Rivian's hands. It's completely out of their hands. They're turning these things around and shipping them out as soon as they get them. They can't send you what they don't have. So that's but yes, Martin, I think the Ford and the Rivians are the ones that, if anything, there's a small percentage of customers that are mad at them. I think most reasonable people are anxious. They're upset that they don't have it yet, but I don't think they're necessarily going to hold it against the OEM because, I mean, shit, they're getting it for free.
Yeah.
How are you going to really complain about that? They're not even making you pay for shipping.
And
really.
And how many
but
people,
I know people are frustrated.
Maybe they bought the product, or maybe they delayed a purchase or expedited a purchase based on the fact that, I did into this certain trip and Tesla's along the route and I've been given these dates, and so I'll take a risk. But there you are ultimately gambling on a lot of jam tomorrow, which in EV world is dangerous. And Mark Norman, which Dom just showed on screen, actually, I say, does Tesla get the blame? That's what I was alluding to, which is they said, hey, we've got this great thing called the Supercharging network, and we're going to share it with everybody else. And there's a financial incentive to do that. And then, Elon loses his mind with the head of the Supercharging team because she wouldn't budge on cutting a certain amount of people. And so he throws his toys out of the pram and fires all of them, and then has to rehire them, some of them back as well. So that's where I say, would Tesla get the blame? Because they can't run their business in a strategic, pragmatic way. They have someone who is a man baby that couldn't get his own way and said, well, I'm the boss, I'm going to fire you all. So, and then Ford and Rivian owners got nothing to do. Like, I didn't buy a Tesla to stay away from this madness. They're the ones being impacted because that team got decimated. But like I say, being rehired now, and I think the Supercharger team do an incredible job with not enough resource. I still think the jewel in the crown. I mean, obviously the cars, the energy, all that is incredible. Take nothing away from what the Tesla team have created. But that Supercharging network, man, if it was mine, I wouldn't share it. I mean, like, they're my toys. I'm keeping them. It is just incredible, and it's brilliant what they've built. And that team did an amazing job. Before we move on, very quickly before the end.
Martin, before we move on to the next, I just want to say, to be clear, I don't think the adapter production is related to Tesla firing the Supercharger network team, because that's being done in a manufacturing facility. I don't think that had anything to do with it. What I do think is, like, GM's delay in getting Supercharger access, I most certainly believe that was because of that, because literally when they did hire all these people, all the people from the companies, and I know I've talked to them, all of a sudden they lost their contacts, and they're in the middle of trying to get this to work, and all of a sudden, they're sending out emails and getting bounce backs that this person's no longer with the company. So that has certainly caused a delay in access to the Supercharger network, but I'm not necessarily sure it has delayed adapter production. I don't know why they're not producing as many as they promised they would.
Yeah. And Dom, before we move on, thoughts on this delay, if you have any?
Not really. I mean, cool. It is what it is sort of situation. People are kind of forced to buy these, third-party adapters if they want to, use the Supercharger network that they have access to now. So, and then so the main two ones I think that we've seen so far, and Tom's reviewed them both, is the A to Z adapter now with the Typhoon Pro out, and someone was asking about the Electron. The Electron is another company who makes them. Because there were some issues with them getting stuck to the cords or getting stuck in cards. Maybe Tom can speak to that for a second, real quick. But
yeah. So initially, when Electron first started selling their adapter, the problem was it would release too easily. It wouldn't lock. So then Electron recalled those and then remanufactured them. And then the problem was it was too tight. The tolerance was too tight, so some people couldn't get them removed. And I believe that for the most part, they've solved that. I'm still hearing on occasion people are getting them and it won't come out. So they're getting new ones sent to them. So I've told people, honestly, if you do get the Electron adapter, just to be safe, just take a little lubricant and just right on the inlet, just touch the outer walls of the inlet. Not a lot, just a little bit. It won't hurt, just in case the tolerance is a little too tight. But I'm pretty sure they have that worked out, for the tolerance. There was never a problem with it, like functioning, like overheating or melting or everything. It was simply a casing issue that was not made to the right specification.
Mark Norman gives us a pro tip. He says, if you see electron adapter stuck on a charger, let it cool down a little and go get your free adapter.
Keep a little WD-40 in your car just in case, and just give it a little.
Nice.
So Jeff Keenan is saying the current electron vortex plug is working great for him, I guess. Leave it on the vehicle when you disconnect the NACS. Yeah.
So, before we go, let's talk about Kia EV3, which I'm trying to, in my mind, let it occupy the space of a Kia Soul EV. Or e-Soul. Careful how you say that, because it's called different things around the world. If you did get that vehicle, it may not be on your shopping list anymore, but it was a brilliant EV. Had, some would say, looks that only a mother could love, but I really liked the Soul EV, or the e-Soul, and so I'm trying in my brain to let this occupy that space and not the Kia e-Niro or Niro EV, because that's a bigger vehicle than this. Try to think of the Kia EV3 as a Volvo EX30. If you're shopping for a Coupe Reborn, very stylish vehicle like an ID3, that's that kind of area. Oh, by the way, for those watching on YouTube and on Twitch and on Twitter, Kyle has got a mammoth road trip today. So we said, hey, a lot of the stuff he talked about, we wanted him for. So he's going to dash onto his road trip. For our audio listeners, if you thought they haven't gone to Kyle for a while, if you got us in your ears today on the audio version of the podcast, he has dropped off the live stream because he is going to go and, like I say, do a mammoth road trip today. You can get this podcast in all the usual audio places as well, by the way. Subscribe to them there, and that way you've got a choice. Watch the video or listen to the audio. Kia EV3 pricing went live, or sales went live yesterday, 1st of August here in the UK. And so 2 battery sizes, which we've seen the Koreans do before, either 58.3 for the little tiddler or 81.4 for the big daddy. And so standard range battery, long range battery, the Air trim, the GT line and the GT line S. But look, here's the headline for £36,000. Now this goes on sale from $32,995, so that's significantly less than an EX30 and a Coupe Reborn, cars like that, like $2,000 cheaper, I think. But perhaps the sweet spot would be the big battery, 81.4 kilowatt hour, £36,000, 372 miles of range. That's almost 400 miles of range on.
That's exciting.
A really small vehicle. What you might think small vehicle, but actually would look very much not out of place on European roads. And yes, sure, get the GT Line S up to 43,000. And because it comes from Kia and Hyundai, you get so many toys and goodies. Obviously, the CarPlays and the Android Autos of the world, but all the blind spot monitoring and the cameras and the brilliant driving assist features or the ADAS they bundle it all in with pretty much all of the specs. The screens, the software, it's, if you haven't had an entry-level vehicle, and now 30,000 is a lot of money for an entry-level vehicle, but that's kind of the world we live in these days. You get so much for your money with these, and they start delivering, certainly before the end of the year. That seems like a really obvious option if you are worried about the software in the Volvo EX30, if you're thinking, well, the Kia e-Niro's been around for, a really long time now, what else have you got? The styling on this, I think, is super interesting. I'll pop up some slides and what have you while we talk about it. Dom, like these kind of vehicles, really important for small families, young families, single urban commuters who just don't need a huge amount of space, for the dogs and the bikes and stuff like that.
I mean, I've been saying it for a while. I think this is really, the Volvo EX30 generated a huge amount of excitement when it dropped because it looks great. The styling inside and out, and the price was like $35,000. They were saying in that neighborhood, but this has like pretty similar kind of looks in that same sort of family of angular, design. It looks really great, and Kia have a long history of making huge volume of cars, and they've been doing very good with their EVs with the eGMP platform. This is on the eGM platform as well, but it's a smaller version of it, so I believe it's only 400 volts.
Yep, correct.
But with this pricing, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get the small battery in the US, but 81.4 kilowatt hours. for $35,000. That's pretty amazing. I think this thing's going to sell like crazy, especially if they can get any sort of discounts or in any kind of, if dealers have to put money on the hoods or whatever, like they're doing now, because right now dealers are kind of taking a bath, I think, and just trying to get the prices down enough so they get the volumes moving.
Yeah. But the 3 screens there, one of them is touch screen for the climate, very EV9 inspired from the external styling as well, in terms of Kia's design language. I think, it is quite bold to look at, but not in a way that is going to scare people off. I think, like, this is... Tom, what do you think?
I love this. I'll tell you right now, guys, this was available. I would be down at my Kia dealership buying one now. I'm thinking about getting another EV. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. My parents have kind of commandeered my Bolt, and they've been driving it for a little while now. I was away on vacation, so they were driving it, and they liked it so much. My dad said, let's sell the Accord. He has a 2018 Accord. Well, he had one. So we actually sold it a couple days ago, and my 87-year-old dad's got his first EV. So now I'm thinking now, no rush. Me and Meredith don't need a third car, obviously, but it is what I do for a living. It's not just the fact that we need to go get a car. So it's always good to have a new vehicle to do reviews and so forth on. So if this was available, I'm telling you guys, it would be shut up and take my money now. So I'm still deciding what I'm going to do. Am I going to get a really good deal on a used EV? Because there's so many ridiculous deals out there. Do I get an Equinox? So I'm it's unfortunate that this vehicle and the Volvo EX30 aren't available now, because I would definitely be looking at them. But Equinox is up there. So we'll see. I might have to come on Battery Bargains and have you guys figure
That's
out
right.
which way I should go.
I think we should do that this week on Battery Bargains. I think we air on Wednesday mornings, right? Battery Bargains. I forgot about that. I was going to do it last week, and I totally forgot about that. And then afterwards, I was kicking myself. But this week, I'm writing it in my notes for sure. We're going to find you a car, Tom. We don't know when this is coming, do we? The EV3 to the US?
To the US, I don't know.
Not for a while, I hear. Yeah,
Really?
I've even reached out to Kia about it. And
By the end of the year, maybe?
I don't think they're targeting
really?
the end of this year. I could be wrong, but I didn't think it was till next year. So
There's some decent space in the back of that. I said more space than an EX30, which is I keep saying it, a really small car,
Right.
the EX30. So that's the Kia EV3. The EV5, I'll pop that on screen for our visual podcast audience. That is the one that I think of as a Kia EV9 that's been put on a hot wash and shrunk. The Kia EV3 I try and think of as the sole replacement, whereas the 5 is a much bigger vehicle, and that is like a little smaller version of the EV9, but still quite big. So that's where we are, I think, with Kia's lineup, which again, like I mentioned with Polestar, can get a little confusing unless you're paying attention. This is it's a vehicle to load functions, of course, as well. This will depend on things like finance offers for the kind of buyer that goes after this kind of vehicle, the family that will be buying this vehicle. It will really depend on how much they're going to spend per month on this vehicle. But I noticed this week that Cupra, to get a little bit of movement under the Born, which has been out a while now, is doing 0% interest, I think, on their vehicles with about £4,000 down. So there was a bit of a deposit, significant deposit there, but I think that was the Cupra were putting in $4,000, or that was the sort of they call it contribution, don't they? But still, 0% in an environment where our interest rates by our central bank got dropped this week by 0.25 percentage point to 5%. So for any car maker or finance house to be offering 0% finance, that is a very significant cost to them as a business. It might not seem like it to you because you're getting 0%. You're still buying a new car and that's not the cheapest way to go motoring. But it's still a very significant hard cost to them, which is worth looking at, by the way. It's a UK offer, and the Cupra Born is Still one of my favorite EVs. Still really, really good. But yeah, the Kia EV3 is something that I think if they can get the monthly price right on this, should be very, very popular, because there shouldn't be anything under it. Like you say, 400-volt version of eGMP. There shouldn't be anything underneath that is going to be very scary at all. All of the software is really tried and true and tested. So this is exciting.
Right. Yeah, Hyundai's really got this Hyundai Motor Group, which includes Kia, of course, is really starting to get its software dialed in this year. I think in the 2025 models, they just had the Ioniq 5. I think is getting its software updated. I think we talked about that maybe last week or the week before. But yeah, this is just just an awesome little car. I think it's going to do super well. It was under the radar for a while, but when it pops here, I think it's really going to pop.
See, this is what we need, guys. This is what I was talking about before, getting frustrated with Polestar. And, I understand we need nice things too, but it seems like everything that's coming out is $70,000 or $80,000. Electric vehicles. I know I'm exaggerating things, but we need cars like this that regular people can afford, and we need more of them. Every freaking automaker should have a $35,000 EV. And I know they need to make money on them. And right now the economics are difficult with electric vehicles, but this is what we need. This is what's going to move the needle. I loved my time in the Polestar 3. That car's not going to move the needle. I'm not saying they shouldn't make it, but Polestar is struggling now. They need to get something that can generate a little bit more traction and get more people in the brand and get the Polestar name to be more widely accepted. And, the $80,000 EVs aren't going to do that. The ones that they sell 4,000 or 5,000 of them a year in the country, I'm frustrated that we don't have more affordable electric vehicles. I'm really frustrated that GM dropped the Bolt. I bought a Bolt. It's a great little runaround car. So good. My dad took it. So that's what we need. A bunch of those. I know GM's bringing back the Bolt in 2025. That's going to be great. Volvo has the EX30 coming out now, and now we see Kia. We need more of these 35 to between $25,000 and $40,000 EVs that can go 250 plus miles. That's going to move the needle in this industry. Not these $100,000 vehicles. And they also give the industry a bad name because, so many people that I talk to about electric vehicles, they still view them as like toys for the rich people. Like I'd get an EV, but I can't afford them. And you mentioned, well, you can get a Tesla for in the 30s with the tax credit and everything. Mm-hmm. They don't want one or two choices. There should be 20 choices that are under $35,000, like you have with combustion vehicles. And that's what's going to move the needle in this industry.
Brendan C. White asked Tom, I think you should wait until the next gen Bolt. That might even undercut the EV3 at 30,000. What do you think the chances of the next gen Bolt being under 30,000?
I think there's a good chance. I think GM will come out with like a starting price of $29.99 or something like that. I think they understand that they have to play in that sandbox. And if they don't, then don't make it. The Equinox EV, what's the starting price on the 1LT? You can't get the 1LT yet, but that's like 32,000 or something like that for the 1LT, right? So if the Bolt isn't cheaper than that, why are you making it? It's smaller, it has less utility, so it's got to be. Brandon, it's got to be under 30,000. The starting base model, at least.
Trying to pull up on cars.com because the MSRP is one thing, but then what dealerships are selling them for is a totally different kind of thing, right? So
Nathan posted the starting price is $34,900. Okay, so the Bolt, the next gen Bolt's going to be a lot smaller than an Equinox. It can't sell for 30,000 or 32,000. It's got to be right around a base starting price has to be under 30K.
So just real quick. 2024, Chevrolet Equinox EVLT, that's the base model, 30,000 at the dealer.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if some of these dealers are taking the federal incentive off and things like that before they put it up on the sites exactly. So you got to call the kind of dealerships to make sure that's the price, whether it's before or after incentives. But Yeah, definitely cheap
and
cars
really
are
quick,
needed.
Yeah, Mr. All Electric Car Lunacy, said Aptera. I think that's a fingers crossed thing. Yeah, keep crossing those fingers, dude, because you need more than good luck. I've pretty much given up on Aptera. I've followed them for years. I was interested in getting one. I had interviews set up. I've already interviewed their CEOs, but then on 2 different occasions, they had arranged for me to come out and see the vehicle and make a video, and they canceled. And then since then, I've sent 4 or 5 emails saying, hey, are we going to rekindle this? I'll fly out on my own dime. You don't have to pay me. Shoot a video with me in the car. If you don't let me drive it, maybe you can let Chris drive it. We can make a video on it, and crickets. So, not that I am this guy that, everybody has to respond when I send an email, but I have a pretty good reach, on State of Charge and on Inside EVs to not even answer my emails to say, hey, would like to cover your vehicle. Yeah, and batteries included. Would like to cover your vehicle. I'd like to make a video, walk around video. Could talk about where you're at, how the financing is going, because they started, making people invest in the company, I think, in order to get one. So at this point, guys, I'm pretty much through with Aptera unless something major changes. I don't think we're ever going to see production Apteras, in any kind of volume. There might make 2 or 3 of them or something like that. But I think that's a company that we just need to look past and look for something else. It's a shame because it was a cool concept, but I don't think they're gonna get to the promised land, guys.
I've always liked them. What's going on, Martin? You got a little power outage there?
My lights just turned themselves off. Now, I was having some electrical work done at the house earlier today, but in theory, the lights should stay on. I just turn them back on again with my phone. There we go.
So really quickly, I've been a big Aptera fan since like the beginning, way back in when it was 2010 or whatever, the first editions of the Apteras. But it's not something that you really can pin your hopes on, I think, even at this point. Like they just went from in-motor design on the front wheels to now they've gone with a centralized interior electric motor. It's like totally changed the powertrain, and it's kind of late in the game to be doing that kind of stuff. So I would not pin a lot of hopes. My fingers are crossed because I'd love to see them out there. But yeah.
Well, the conversation around cheaper EVs is an interesting one to finish up on. I know we're a little bit over time, but I will mention, because we saw this story, we'd like to register the we. Yes, we saw it, and yes, it's very much on our minds in many parts of the world, following the European Union's tariffs decision, which hit SAIC companies like that really badly, over 30%. BYD, 17.4% added to their vehicles here in the EU. And of course, 100% tariffs in the US. We have an election on the 5th of November where one of your candidates is saying that, well, first of all, Trump, bless him, said that he'd end the mandate immediately. The US has no EV mandate, but he's got other things to...
Well, that's easy to end.
He can end it if he wants to.
On day one, he just makes an announcement. You see, there's no more EV mandate.
I did it. Like the wall is built. But he did make a good point, an interesting point about how he would add tariffs to anything coming in from Mexico, which is why Tesla have cancelled their Tesla have been very cautious around language around their Mexican investment. The Mexican politicians and whatever are doing these interviews being like, no, it's going ahead. And then Tesla's saying, well, we're going to not talk about Tesla Mexico until after the elections because Trump's saying that, well, Mexico can be used as a backdoor for these Chinese companies to make the vehicles there and come into the US, which is, agree with his politics or not, but that's true. Like that could be one of the ways that you get Chinese vehicles in the US is by having these Mexican factories built by the Chinese companies, and therefore, all of a sudden you get Chinese EVs. In the US. Canada's worried about it as well. They've just wrapped up their 30-day consultation on measures to restrict Chinese EV imports, like higher tariffs, like the European Union, the 100% US tariff as well. BYD lobbyists filed documents in Ottawa seeking to advise matters on the expected market entry of BYD into Canada for the sales of electric passenger vehicles. And so BYD want to carry on expanding and bringing those cheaper vehicles to various parts of the world. Industry figures on the dealer side of things are saying BYD's been quietly meeting with dealer principals in key markets in Canada to suss out the logistics. Meanwhile, BYD doing a big deal with Uber this week in parts of the world like Europe and Latin America and even the Middle East, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand for 100,000 BYD vehicles to be used by Uber drivers to go all electric, offering discounts to drivers and various interesting finance themes to get the vehicles on the road, maintenance and charging and financing, and things like that. So, like I say, in an election year in the US that has been, I was going to say it's the phrase blown wide open, but that's sort of, I'm not really getting into the polls side of it, but it has been blown wide open in the fact that there's now seems to be a race that you guys have got this year, and what was almost a dead cert that was Trump was going to win, and that would have a very big impact on the investment that these the car companies, the supply chains, like, will go into electric vehicles or not. Now, it might just be a case of, well, a lot of investment gets put on hold because, the polls are suggesting a tighter race now, and that could mean a period of stagnation for EV investment in the US until the 5th of November. But before we go, Dom, I know you pay a lot of attention to things like the cheaper Chinese cars. What do you mean? Should we just open the doors and have free trade everywhere and bring them in, or what are your thoughts?
Yes, we should, and also just subsidize our own vehicles. Because to me personally, the biggest thing that really we need to be worrying about is climate change and addressing climate change and doing everything we can to reduce carbon. And so the faster we get people in EVs, the faster this transition happens. So, politically, it's very difficult to do anything like that because people, see it as free money, and, that's not a thing that works politically very well. But, I just really think, and then having Chinese EVs in our market also incentivizes, our domestic manufacturers to really kind of bear down and get their own technical development, under control, or get competitive, basically, because the Chinese EVs, they're in a lot of ways they're better than what we're producing right now in this country from a lot of the legacy manufacturers, for sure. Rivian has a good niche carved out for it. Tesla has its fans and its niche, but the other automakers not as much. And when you see a $20,000 price tag on a BYD Seagull or something, a lot of people, that's what they can afford, and that's what they would buy if they only could. And so, that's my probably controversial opinion about that. Before we go, real quick though, I think I wanted to ask Tom though about this thing in behind him on the wall.
Okay, yeah, right up behind me here we have the new Grizzly Ultimate 48 amp charger, which I've been reviewing since I got back from vacation. It's a hardwired unit, under $400 for a Wi-Fi connected smart charger with Grizzly toughness and reliability. So that video, my full review video, is going to go up on State of Charge tomorrow. And I'm also going to be giving away a free one. I haven't decided exactly what the qualifications are to get a free one. I've done these free giveaways in a number of ways. We did one here on batteries included. I think I'm going to do something to the effect of comments on the review. I'm going to pick the best comment or something like that. But I'll post what the qualifications are going to be in the description of the video and also on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. And so I'll be giving away one of these, and that review is coming out tomorrow. I will tip my hat a little bit. I really like this charger. I think for what it offers at under $400, it's putting a lot of pressure on the more expensive 48 amp chargers that are out there on the market. So good on United Chargers. They're a sponsor here, but I don't promote or give them any benefit of the doubt, let's say, just because they sponsor batteries included. I review these chargers fairly, and I think that comes through in my reviews, that I don't pull any punches. I found things that I didn't like about it for sure, but overall, it's a solid unit, and it's worth serious consideration if you're looking for a 48 amp charger.
And made in Canada, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's the thing that I know we talked about this previously. That's one of the things that's amazing that, United Chargers is able to engineer, design, and build their chargers in Canada and compete with the bigger companies that are mostly making them in Asia, in China for the most part. And they're able to do that and not just compete, but offer them at a lower price. There's very few $400 48 amp chargers out there. There's Emporia, EVIQ, I think also. But other than that, you've got to spend more than that. Some of them cost $700.
Yeah.
And, it's good on United Chargers. It's a good, solid unit. It's going to be one of my top recommended chargers moving forward.
Brilliant.
David here with the dad jokes. I can't bear being without a Grizzly. Right. Thanks, David.
Nice. You can find out more at unitedchargers.com, grizzle-e.com. Go to unitedchargers.com.
Yeah, say that, Tom. Grizzly.
I've been doing it right. I've been working on my Grizzly
you
pronunciations.
But everything from there, their classic range all the way through to their ultimate 80 amp as well. And like you say, you're not just spending something on an unknown Chinese-made product that could be great, or you just don't know. And so you do get a certain level of assurance. As Tom says, a sponsor of this podcast, it's thanks to United Chargers that we're able to do this every Friday or whenever you tune in on the replay. And so thank you very much to them as always. Go and check out their chargers. Before we go, Mark Norman asks you a question, Tom.
You're looking at the Coles?
Are you looking at the Coles MK Mark 1 Street Side EVSE with removable cable? Seems like an important step in the US.
No, not yet. I'll look into them. I'm not so sure that's allowed.
Coles Street, I think it's supposed to be, maybe.
The having the removable cable, I thought it was against code here in the US. But I'll look at the company. No, I haven't yet. Maybe I'll reach out to them and take a look at what they're doing there. I would imagine this isn't something that they don't have these in the ground yet, do they? Are these already installed here in the US? So I don't know. We'll check it out. And also, just to put a cap on the United Charger thing, my next review is going to be the 80 amp version of this, the 80 amp Grizzly Ultimate. So look forward to that one. But this review is going up on State of Charge tomorrow.
Right on.
Good stuff. Well, there you go. We're going to mix around who talks first and who talks last and who asks the questions, and that gives Dom a little bit more of a chance to chip in with his thoughts, because a lot of the time we're almost up to a year of doing this since we the four of us used to do this on Inside EVs, and then we launched Batteries Included, and we're almost a year into this, and Dom's held down the anchoring with every single one of those, which is it's not always easy to do, but also it means you're often asking the questions and I always get to give you your thoughts. So hopefully if I can do a little bit of that as well, then Dom can chip in, because we sometimes don't always hear what you've got to say, Dom, which is very, very important. You've been doing this longer than most as an EV journalist. So in case you're just tuning in, you missed the intro, that's why this idiot Brit is doing a bit more talking. Well, that brings us to the end of our show, so thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments, you know what to do. Join in the live chat every Friday, 9:30 Eastern or 2:30 UK, 3:30 Central European time. We love to see. It's why we do this show live, because we absolutely adore you guys in the audience, and we love seeing your comments. We don't show all of them on screen. We wish we could, but we know you have a separate conversation sometimes going on just in the comments, and we love that so much, and it gives us energy to do this. And thank you very much for being part of what we're creating here at Batteries Included. Questions, comments, leave them below. Get in touch, leave a comment on the YouTube video, or you can even go to batteriesincludedpodcast.com. We have really simple websites for the contact details and stuff like that. So make sure that you do give us a thumbs up. As Dom always says, if you like the show, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like the show, give us a thumbs up. Click subscribe and tap the bell icon for notifications so you never miss what we do. Look, thank you very much for joining us once again this week. We'll see you again very soon. Hey, Dom, say ciao.
Ciao.